I'm going to talk about nationalism and give a quick explanation as to why it's a joke, if it's not obvious enough. Everybody is born randomly, whether we talk about physical or spiritual things. So, let's say we have a man who is a nationalist and he likes his country better than some other. By realizing this one simple thing, that he could have been born in the other country by coincidence, and it is a coincidence, all of this nonsense would stop, his mindset would change. But because people of similar groups, movements and ideologies do not realize this, such things as nationalism still exist nowadays. You could be born in any country, and if you believe in history, you can see that borders always change. Every border of any country is man-made. All the traditions that go along with the country, all of it is man-made. I like my country, Latvia, because I grew up with all of the traditions and such, everything that goes along with it. So if I was born in China, I would like the Chinese traditions because I would be familiar with them. But because I'm not familiar with them, I do not like them, because there's nothing even I can say about them, and that's just how it is. So obviously when you're a kid and you grow up somewhere, you will like it just because of that. But by realizing that it's all unnatural, there would be nobody who would worship it, and it's definitely not something to fight for. Fighting wars for your country and many other groups, political groups, such as nationalism, these ideologies are also a joke, because it's all part of the system. So if you are a nationalist, you are part of the system, so you are controlled because it existed way before you joined it. So you've been simply given a mindset, you've been brainwashed. I saw this documentary some weeks ago, and it's about this tribal clan or tribal people living in South America. It's possible you have seen it already because it's quite popular from what I remember. And one of them said that they, at least many of them, kill themselves when they are around 30 because they want to see their relatives again. Because supposedly in these so-called spiritual experiences in another dimension, they have seen them and they miss them. And that happens while they take drugs. What clearly doesn't add up is that if there is such a thing as another dimension where let's just say souls float around, then you would clearly not see your relatives or whoever adds their physical selves as they are on this body, on this planet, in this physical body. So what makes more sense is that they were simply having hallucinations, some kind of dream illusions, which they manifested in their own minds. And that's why they see them as they were on this planet. They create these fantasies themselves and kill themselves for no good reason. Of course, what also many people say, and I'm not going to say that if it's wrong or right, is that there are demons who deceive the people in these spiritual dimensions to make them see their relatives. And this is these are my own thoughts, that they could do it just so they kill themselves. But I'm not going to say anything more about that. It's much more likely that it's simple hallucinations. And this is somewhat related to the so-called 13 families who are in power. Supposedly they are. And it never added up to me, and I'm still very skeptical about it. For one thing, we would never have heard of them if they do exist and if there are such families. I'm not going to name them. If you watch my videos, you likely have heard of them. It's everywhere. It's on the internet, and the internet is controlled. It's very unlikely that this is true. If these so-called richest people on this planet are really in power, then they are likely just as brainwashed as anybody else and controlled by the actual people who are in power. Maybe so people go after them. And people do it. If it's a trap, people do fall for it, so it works. What I won't get into yet, but what I also thought about are how the families work, the inbreeding, as people say. I would not see the point in having children and staying with your own blood and creating children that look like you, as it is. If I had a child, he would or she would likely also resemble me in some way. It's just how it is. But the actual people in power would likely realize that these people are as good as any other people, because only physically they are your children. And of course, as we see nowadays, you can make children follow anything, any trend, anything. You can make them do anything if you make them grow up the correct way, which is correct for each individual, not for everybody in general. The natural way is the correct way. That's what I would say. So that's all possible, but the actual people in power would likely not care about having children and then doing that, simply because if souls are born randomly, there's hardly any chance that you will be spiritually related to your children. It's most likely only physically. And I do not believe that the actual people in power, if there are such, would actually care about having children just for the physical part. It doesn't necessarily have to be some kind of families who do this.